Alright, we're going to talk about the books I'm reading this winter and the ones you should read too. And then I'm going to talk about the books I read last winter that you should also read this year if you haven't already. If you want, we can read the same books and I'll talk about them. So, winter for me is like end of December and January. I know February is also winter, but February is Valentine's Day, so I'll only be reading like rom-coms and that kind of stuff. So I have a video for that too. But for winter, I have specific books in mind to read. The first series and books I'm going to be reading this winter are the ACOTAR books. The ACOTAR series, I'm going to be starting it really soon, and they don't really like scream winter, but also they kind of do. But at the same time, I've been putting this off for December specifically because that's when I get done with school. I've talked about this like so many times. But if you haven't seen anything, then I am reading this month because I just finished college, so I'll have time to start the series. So that's like a big thing I'm reading this winter. There's obviously a lot of books and they're pretty big, so this will take up probably most of the winter. I hope to have it done by like February. I don't know. But yeah, this is going to be a big part of my winter, so if you haven't read it, we should read it together. Or if you have read it, maybe you should reread it. And then in between those, like if I just need something in between all the long books, like something quick, then I'm going to read the rest of the off-campus series. I've only read The Deal, so I have all the other ones, so I want to finish them. And I've just been in like a hockey romance mood. I really want to read one. Yeah, I read the first one and I really liked it, so I'm like, when I finish it, and I'm in the mood to do that, so hopefully soon. And then I also have other hockey romances on my radar if I don't want to read those. So then I also want to read Behind the Net and The Fake Out, which are on Kindle Unlimited. And if I don't want to read a physical book or just don't want to be in this world, I can start those. So those are also on my radar for this winter. The last romance like filler book on my winter TBR is Check and Mate. I don't really know why it's like a winter book to me. I just really want to read it, so I included it in my TBR. But like chess is kind of cozy. Like when I think about chess, I think like cozy. I don't know. But it just seems like it'd be like the perfect in-between book, in between like the ACOTAR books. And it's like probably going to be a quick read for me. And I love chess and I love Ali Hazelwood and I love YA. So why not read this? Okay, those are all the physical books that are on my TBR. But I also have like audiobooks I'll be listening to through all of December. So the first one is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I actually have this on hold at Libby, so hopefully it gets ready soon and I can read it because I've heard so many good things. And the cover is literally screams winter. It's winter. So that's why it's included in this. And I've heard, like I said, so many good things and I really, really, really want to read it. So hopefully it gets ready for me to read on Libby soon. And then the other book I have a hold on at Libby is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I also have the physical copy of this book. I just haven't read it and I don't know if I will. Like, I really want to. I just haven't got to it yet, so I think if I listen to it as an audiobook, that could help me like get into it, and then if I want to switch to the physical copy, I can. But I've heard the audiobook is really good too, so I want to try it out. So it's on hold. So hopefully we get that soon. Okay, now we're going to get into the books that I read last winter that you should read this winter if you haven't already. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, I read The Deal last January and I really liked it, and I think this whole series would be great to read during winter if you haven't read them already. I know a lot of people have because it's pretty old, but I still haven't finished it, so I'm sure there's someone out there that hasn't finished it either. And hockey and winter just go together for me, probably ice. I don't know, but I love to read hockey romances during winter. So another great option is Icebreaker. I read this this January as well, and it was so good. I actually have Wildfire. That could also be on my TBR. I just realized. That would be an option too. But if you haven't read this, you really need to look at the cover. It's so pretty. And it's just like a really good couple in this book. Like they communicate so well, and I liked just everything about this book. It was almost a 5-star, but I actually gave it like a 4.5 star just because I felt like they got together too quick for me. I like a slow burn, but it's still really good. Next book I think you should read this winter is Divine Rivals. I did not read this in the winter, I read it in the fall, but I think this would be such a good winter book. I don't really have a reason besides it just gives winter, I think you should read it in the winter. It's a cozy romantasy book. It's basically, if you haven't heard about this, it's basically about like two writers who are rivals at their writing publishing place. They have typewriters that they can write to each other on, and she doesn't know it's the guy writing to her, but he knows it's her. Does that make sense? So they write letters to each other, and stuff happens with like a war and stuff, and it's really good. And the second one comes out in December. I don't know what day, but the second one to this comes out in December. So, oh, that's also on my TBR. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but that's gonna be on my TBR as well, and you should read both of them. I wish I had waited to read this till like the second book came out, because I was like in a Fourth Wing and Iron Flame slump when I read this, so it was only a 4-star, but I think I'll like the second book a lot more. Okay, next we're gonna get into a few series I think you should read in the winter. Winter, for me, I always read so many series. Like, I just want to curl up with a series and read it. So the first one you should read is the Inheritance Games trilogy. They're right here, but I'm just showing you this cool special edition one that I got from Barnes & Noble. But this one is such a cozy, quick, mystery, romance sprinkled in series. It's 3 books, and then there's like a spin-off series with the Brothers Hawthorne so far. They're all amazing. They're all so quick and easy to read, and I loved all of them. And it would be really good to read this winter. And if you like the movie Knives Out, you'll love this. And I literally recommend this to everybody that I talk to because it's so good. My mom actually read them this year, and she flew through them and she loved them. So I think it's good for anyone. And then the last series I'm recommending is the Shatter Me series. If you haven't read this, you need to. I know it has like so much hype, and I know like a lot of people have probably read it. Or if you haven't read it, you're just like, I don't think I'll ever get to it. But trust me, if you haven't read this, this is your sign to read this series. It's one of my favorite series, and it is really long, as you can see, but they're pretty quick, and I read them all in like 2 months, which is good for me because I read slow. And I flew through them, and I loved them, and they're perfect for winter. Like, they're winter vibes in my brain, like they're associated with winter, so you should definitely read this. And lastly, there are 2 thrillers I think you should read this winter. The first one is The Guest List. I really enjoyed this. I listened to it as an audiobook, and I was obsessed with it. I wanted to be in the car and listen to it, and that's how you know it's a good audiobook. And I just loved it. And it's on an island, and it's like dark, rainy, spooky vibes, but it gives winter. And it's about a wedding, and you have like all these different point of views of different characters at this island for the wedding. And you figure out there's a murder at the beginning, but you don't know who or what or where or why, and you just start unraveling the truth because it goes back in time and talks about the whole day leading up. So it is really good, and the ending did get me, so that's great. Okay, then the last book you should read this winter. I'm not finished with it yet, but I already know I love this book and this audiobook, and you should definitely read it or listen to it. And it is literally just left my brain. Hold on. Oh, it is None of This Is True, by the girl who wrote Then She Was Gone. I've heard so many good things, and I've been waiting and waiting months for this book on Libby, and it finally was available for me this month. So I started it a few days ago. I'm already like 70%. About to finish it. It's so good. I am wishing to be in the car. I'm listening to it in the shower. I'm listening to it doing chores. Like, I usually don't listen to audiobooks that often, but this one I want to put on all the time and finish it because it's that good. And I think it'd be the perfect book to either read or listen to this winter because it is just so fast-paced and you just need to listen to it. But basically it's about these 2 girls who are birthday twins. They figure out and like find each other at a restaurant on their birthdays, and in the bathroom they realize they're birthday twins. One of the girls has a podcast where she interviews women like about their lives and how they've like changed their lives. And the other girl is like, oh, like you should do a podcast episode about me. Like, I'm preparing to change my life. Like, I'm gonna change my life. I just think it'd be interesting for you to like follow someone through the whole process instead of just interviewing them at the end. They agree to do that, and then you start figuring out things about each other and like the girl's past and everything. And it's really interesting, and the audiobook is so good because it has like little snippets from the actual like fake audiobook that the girl has, and it's like, this is a recording from blah blah blah's audiobook. Podcast. Let me re-say all that because that was confusing. They'll have like little snippets from like the podcast that the girl has, and it's like a live recording of the podcast. It's kind of like, feels like a documentary almost, like the audiobook itself feels like a documentary, because I'll just throw in like clips from the podcast, but it sounds real and has like real people being like, oh, like I saw that girl one time doing this, and like now that all this stuff has come out, I'm like, oh my gosh, but we don't know what it is. And it's like, that was kind of confusing, but it's super interesting and it keeps me entertained. So can't speak on the ending or anything, but that's probably good because you don't want to know because it's a mystery. But it's super good and I definitely recommend it, even though I'm 70% in. That's how you know. Okay, those are all the books I'm reading this winter and that I think you should read this winter if you haven't already. Let me know if you have any other good winter book recommendations. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.